So, hi, my father said to talk to you. Coca-Cola. Have a coffee. I have a black currant juice, but it's in the other side of the fucking desk. If I need it, I will take it there. Plain chocolate, but yeah, it's the half of the box or wrapping or whatever you wanna call it. Should I take the juice? I don't know. Hold on. Oh, with minimal moving. Well done, Helga. So, my blackcurrant juice as well. So, he told me I have to teach you about the dream of Agamemnon in a chronological order. So, why? That's the part 2. What was the part 1 titled as? I'll make sure to copy it in my clipboard, because I'm gonna do the part 2 today. Okay, so part 1 was explaining how Zeus and Yahweh use deception into context plus what's deception. Okay, so I discussed a tiny bit this topic, but today I'm gonna do like I'm gonna go into details, I suppose, with the texts. I can explain why I say what I say, and hopefully you will understand by the end of it. I'm not quite sure how much I'm gonna film, but I'm trying to find the video, that's why I'm not playing anything. So, okay, found the video. So, we're gonna listen to the Iliad first by Homer. I'm gonna do my route. I'm not gonna do. Hold on a second. I'm not gonna do. It's like taking off in a car, isn't it? So, I am not going to do like what God says first and then what the devil says, because this is not the route that I personally took in my journey. So I'm gonna retrace my steps because this is how I think as a person. You get what I mean? That's how I did it. That's how I'm gonna teach it. So, we're gonna listen to the Iliad. Probably you will listen for some.
The gods.
I'm gonna put it behind. I'm gonna put that a little bit lower. We are going to listen the whole sequence. That's the book 2 by Iliad. I'm explaining book 2 by Iliad. That's called Rhapsodia. Yeah, Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody. That's the same word, Rhapsodia. That means I'm not quite sure what it means literally. I don't know if that makes sense. Like word for word. If you ask me to explain rhapsodia in Greek, what it means, it's when you say a story but in a poetic singing manner, not exactly like a traditional prose style, like a novel. It's more like when you sing it, or you are singing it better, or when you are narrating it in a poetic manner. And when I say poetic, I don't mean a poem written without rhyme. I mean a very strict poem with 15 syllables. A very strict poem with δεκαπεντασύλλαβο. That's called 15 syllables. It's when the sentence on the first line is 15 syllables, and so is the second and the third, fourth, 5, 6, and so on forever. Yeah, I'm not saying this is how the Iliad was produced. but this is the concept behind it. I'm not quite sure about the technical structural details because I wasn't taught the Iliad in the original poem. Do you have that? As I said, we have the Bible in the original, and the Bible is only 2000 years old. The epics are 3000 years old. So obviously we have the Bible as well as original, because we have the Homeric poems in the original. You get what I mean? It's like you are asking me, like, if a modern text is preserved in my country, the Bible it's modern for Greek understanding. The Homeric is ancient because before Homer we don't really have that like rich poetry, to be honest. I know we have some inscriptions, we have some bindings, we have spells. We have some pottery, γραμμική β, as I have said, grammic 2 and 1, but Homer is the father of Greek literature and of the Western literature as well. He's the father of European literature, but after him we have Hesiod, we have Pythagoras, which is the dude with mathematics who wrote poems as well. If you are a philosopher, if you are mathematics and shit in Greece, you also do poetry and shit, because it's part of the tree of knowledge. That's why. You have then you have Plato, Xenophon the historian, Thucydides the historian. You have Aristotle the philosopher. He's later. He's when Plato was in his 60s, Aristotle was my age, so they have a gap there, right? Then we have Alexander the Great. Yes, he was doing philosophy, but Aristotle find him disappointing. Yeah, whatever. What else we have? I think that's the order until Christ. Let's put it that way. Like Alexander died 3 centuries before the birth of Christ. So yeah, that makes sense. So in the original text, that's a poem, rhapsody. In English you will find it as a book, but it's not actually a book, it's the second poem, the second chapter poem. That's how I can translate it to you. Okay. So I'm gonna let it play for the remaining of the hour. Not on all of it, obviously, until we reach how the story will go. Agamemnon will say the dream to others. They will try to interpret it, and as far as I remember, Helga, why do you think you are not sure this is gonna happen? Because these stories are known in Greece according to the territory you are. You get what I mean? So if you are Athenian, you know another version. If you are another place, you know another version. And when you hear the Iliad by Homer, then you see how Homer has narrated the story. So it really depends how you are indoctrinated. And obviously I don't remember what they taught me when I was at school, because spoiler alert, I wasn't paying attention. I have said that even in my emo posts. I wasn't really paying attention. I didn't like this book, so that's why I didn't give a fuck what they were teaching me, pretty much. Nothing to do with the teachers. I just was trying to pay attention and I just couldn't, because I hated the story. So I'm gonna let it play. We will listen how the story will go, like how Zeus takes the idea, how he gives it to Agamemnon, how Agamemnon wakes up, he tells the dream. The story that I remember, the story that I know from my upbringing in Greece, is that Odysseus understood that something is off with everything, but nobody really paid him attention. Let's see if this happens in the written Iliad. Let's see. And then, Helga, is this regarded as canon? Yes, it is canon for Greek understanding. You don't have to have it written down to be regarded as canon, because in whatever county or town or village you are born, you know the myth in a different manner, and they are all considered canon with ancient Greek understanding. Obviously, if we speak about Bible, no, that's not a biblical understanding. We have changed from the ancient times, as I said in the other video. Today we follow pretty much the Jewish tradition, the way that religious Jews do that, with science, with evidence and history and all that stuff. So we don't do that today as we did it back in the days. But when it comes for our oral tradition from the ancient Greeks, yes, we keep that. Like, we have this story here, you have a similar version here and there, you get what I mean. I think Odysseus died, no, I think Odysseus survived. So that's how we roll nowadays. We have both, but for each tradition, so for our ancient ones, yes, we keep it, but for our religion, because we took our religion obviously from the Jews, if we can say so, even if it is something born in our country, we took it regardless from the Jews. So we have the Jewish custom. The Orthodox Church is very meticulous with records and scriptures, and if something is not based in a record, they are very quick to discard it as forged and shit. So today we follow what the Jews did back in the ancient days, but when we speak about our myths, occasionally when we speak about our ancient past, yes, we speak as we used to speak, but we differentiate from how we do our religion. And my country is very shaped by the Jewish tradition, as I say. As a result, we are very much meticulous with history and records and shit. Yes, we had historians before we became Christians, but I mean that the way that we extract, let's say, wisdom today is pretty much Jewish way, not ancient Greek way. We don't base it in myths. We base it in evidence and science, wonders, that something we can see, something we can document, in whatever manner, history, videos and shit. We have become Hebrews in the way of processing information. That's what I'm saying. We don't do philosophy anymore, except if you are a pagan, obviously. Okay, can I? Yeah, I can do that. Let's do that. So let's listen now to the audio. Let's see how it will go. What will happen after Agamemnon narrates the dream? Will he get fate from Zeus? Yes or no? And so on.
The Iliad. As he walked through the ships of the bronze.
Sorry.
The Iliad by Homer, Book 2. The gods slept soundly that night, and the men by their war horses, but Zeus lay awake in the dark, thinking of how to honor Achilles and destroy Greeks by the shipload. His thoughts parted like storm clouds, and in the clear space between them he saw what seemed to be the best plan: to send to Agamemnon, son of Atreus, a woolly menace, a dream, and to it he spoke these feathery words: "Go, deadly dream, along the Greek ships until you come to the hut of Agamemnon, and deliver this message to him exactly. Order him to arm his long-haired Greeks. Now is his time to capture Troy. The Olympian gods are no longer divided. Hera has bent them all to her will, and targeted the Trojans for pain." The dream listened and went. Shadows flew around the Greek ships. It found Agamemnon wrapped in deep starlit slumber. The dream stood above his head. It looked like Nestor, the old man that Agamemnon respected the most. Looked just like Nestor, and this dream that was a god addressed the king. "Asleep, son of Atreus, Horsebreaker, wise man, you can't sleep all night. All these decisions to make, so many people depending on you. I'll be brief. I am a messenger from Zeus, who is far away, but loves you and pities you. He orders you to arm your long-haired Greeks. Now is your time to capture Troy. The Olympian gods are no longer divided. Hera has bent them all to her will, and targeted Troy for sorrow from Zeus. Think it over. Keep your wits about you, and don't forget this when sleep slips away. And the voice trailed off, leaving him there, dreaming of things that were never to be. He thought he would take Priam's city that day. The fool! He didn't know what Zeus had in mind. The pain and groans for both Trojans and Greeks in the unendurable crush of battle. He woke from sleep, the god's voice eddying around him. He sat upright, pulled on a silky shirt, threw on a cloak, laced a pair of sandals on his shining feet, and hung from his shoulder a silver-worked sword, as he walked through the ships of the bronze-kilted Greeks. Dawn had just reached the peak of Olympus, speaking light to Zeus and the other immortals. Agamemnon ordered the heralds to call the Greeks to assembly. The call went out.
I lost it. Sorry.
Eddying around him, he sat upright, pulled on a silky shirt, threw on a cloak, laced a pair of sandals on his shining feet, and hung from his shoulder a silver-worked sword, as he walked through the ships of the bronze-kilted Greeks. Dawn had just reached the peak of Olympus, speaking light to Zeus and the other immortals. Agamemnon ordered the heralds to call the Greeks to assembly. The call went out, and the people gathered. Agamemnon seated the elders first by Nestor's ship, and unfolded his plan. Listen, my friends, a dream from Zeus came to me last night in my sleep. It looked just like Nestor, same face, same build, and it stood above my head and spoke. Asleep, son of Atreus, horsebreaker, wise man, you can't sleep all night. All those decisions to make, so many people depending on you. I'll be brief. I am a messenger from Zeus, who is far away, but loves you and pities you. He orders you to arm.
My neighbors are making noise. Sorry about that.
Build, and it stood above my head and spoke. Asleep, son of Atreus, horsebreaker, wise man, you can't sleep all night. All those decisions to make, so many people depending on you. I'll be brief. I am a messenger from Zeus, who is far away, but loves you and pities you. He orders you to arm your long-haired Greeks. Now is your time to capture Troy. The Olympian gods are no longer divided. Hera has bent them all to her will, and targeted Troy for sorrow from Zeus. Think it over. The dream said all this, and off it flew, and I awoke from a sweet sleep. We'd better move if we're going to get the men in armor, but I'm going to test them first with a little speech. The usual drill. Order them to beat a retreat in their ships. It's up to each one of you to persuade them to stay. He had his say and sat down. Then up rose Nestor, king of sand-swept Pylos. He was full of goodwill in the speech he made. Friends, Argive counselors and commanders, if any other Greek told us this dream, we would call it a lie and turn our backs on him. But this is a man with a claim to be the best of the Greeks. We'd better move if we're going to get them in armor. And he headed out. The other commanders stood up, convinced he was right. The troops were moving now, swarming like insects over the beach, like bees that hum from a hollow rock in an endless line, and fly in clusters over flowers in spring, grouping themselves in aerial throngs. The Greeks made like that as they swarmed, out of the ships and the huts clutched beneath them. Filing through the deep sand into assembly, swept along by Zeus's emissary. Wildfire, rumor. They milled about in the assembly ground, and the earth groaned as the unruly crowd eased itself down. And 9 bawling heralds tried to stop their shouting, and get them to listen to their Zeus-spawned kings. They settled down finally and kept their seats, and stopped all the noise. Up stood Lord Agamemnon, holding a staff. Hephaestus had crafted this staff, and
Oh gosh, look up. It's not only looking scary, now it sounds awful too. Well, I don't think it's inviting us over for a hot cocoa and lemon bars. I took it for like my thumbnail. Hold on a second. Okay, so I see. I will ask Copilot on this. I'm multitasking again. So, Gemini says that in the Iliad it is not said that Odysseus understood that something is off with the dream. We'll ask Copilot, did Odysseus understand that the dream of Agamemnon, Iliad, Book 2, is deceptive? I grew up as a Greek knowing so. Odysseus was very close with goddess Athena. You can see that even in the Odyssey by Homer. So I don't know, like if you speak about him, you always know that he's the divine Odysseus, the Theos Odysseus, divine Odysseus. He had like a wisdom no other people had. So there is this rumor. I suppose it's a rumor. I will see what Copilot says. I know as a Greek that he knew that the dream was not to be trusted, but he trusted it in the end. And probably what I'm saying is just the narration of Athens and not Iliad, because we heard the majority of the council, and he didn't react somehow. So as I can see, what I'm saying is probably the version. Or is it in Iliad? Okay, let's see what Copilot says. Yes, Helga, your instinct is correct. Odysseus did understand that Agamemnon's dream in Iliad Book 2 is deceptive, even if it's not stated outright. Okay. So Gemini doesn't get Greek understanding like Copilot does. I know, as I said, I know that from as a Greek that Odysseus, he was very close with goddess Athena, and that means in a Greek context, like in the way Greek myths operate, because that's not biblical understanding. So if you are close with Yahweh either in the Bible or outside of it, that doesn't mean what the story of Odysseus is close with Athena means. When you are close with a god in mythological understanding, and I guess that's the creepy part that I was discussing with my dad yesterday at night, when you are close with a god in Greek sense, like Greek pagan sense, there is a slight flavor of eroticism into it, and yeah, I feel a little bit cringed as I discuss it. It's like, as I can explain, you have Athena with Odysseus, and they are like opposite gender, and it gets you a little bit to get that Athena is actually Zeus, and like you read that he is her father, she is his favorite daughter, and then you grow up and you become a mystic and you realize they are the same person. That Zeus gave birth to Athena. Athena is the goddess of wisdom, so that means Zeus is wise. You get what I mean? So it's like an epithet of Zeus. Like what did Hecate tell Sarah? My epithets are Nyx's children. If Zeus has a daughter named Wisdom, or if his daughter is the goddess of wisdom, so Zeus is wisdom. So when you realize then that Zeus is actually the protector of Odysseus, and Odysseus is in love with Athena, it's cringy. Yeah. It doesn't operate in the same manner as the biblical stories operate, and that's what I say when I mean that when a Greek would come into contact with the Hebrew person, they would have some fundamental similarities, like anthropomorphic gods that speak to you, kind of relational depending on your understanding, because yes, Zeus is relational, but if you are a mystic, and for a Hebrew, look, like Yahweh can talk to you normally as a human person, but usually people don't want him to do that. So even in the Bible, there was an instance that people told Moses, my dad says, you read that, we don't want to talk to him yourself alone. So what I'm saying here is that when he did that with my dad, like Moses, people didn't want him to talk to them, so they preferred something like Zeus is, like, don't speak too much to us, okay? You get what I mean? So if I spoke as an ancient Athenian with a guy from Jerusalem, let's put it that way, because that's the capital, right? They would tell me that God doesn't talk too much either, but that's the problem. It's not that Yahweh doesn't talk too much himself, it's that people didn't really want him to talk too much. So he didn't, but he respected them. I can read it out actually. Can you give me the instance when the Israelites order Moses to tell Yahweh not to talk to them directly? So, yes, Helga, the moment you're referring to is found in Exodus 10, right after the Ten Commandments are given. Here's the instance. When the people saw the thunder and the lightning and heard the trumpet and saw the mountain in smoke, that's all reference with Zeus, as you can see. Lightning, thunder, trumpet, mountain, that's Olympus, right? They trembled with fear. Why? Because people are stupid inherently, and when they see such stuff, they think of the devil. They don't think of my dad. They have a problem in their brain. That's my problem. My father is laughing. They, like, I wouldn't. I would marvel in the nature. It's exactly how you are trained to see things. And no, it's not that you are afraid of the lightning because you don't know what it is. It's that people are inherently, sorry father, they are stupid. That they are made to be stupid, and that's why I say sorry father. Like, they are afraid of lightning and mountain. This deity, bestie, Hebrew, if it was a bad person, they would have killed you in the Red Sea. They would have killed you in the firstborn plague. This deity saved you. They were saved by this person. They couldn't see him, yes, but he preserved them. He was there for them. He attended to their needs. He was a father in everything. Okay? And they still see him like they would see a pagan deity, like Zeus, lightning, trumpet, mountain, and they think, okay, Zeus. That I don't know. I don't know how to pose that. I don't know how to pose that. I suppose that's like a protein deficiency in the brain. I cannot access the information in a better manner in my head at this point, because I wouldn't flinch. I would say my dad is here. I wouldn't mind. Like I see here there is a fucking tornado. I wouldn't flinch. I see it and I say what a beautiful Halloweenish purple color. So let's continue before we read the book, okay? In fact, I think it's inviting us to do the opposite, whatever that is. Okay. They are afraid. These people are afraid. I'm not. I'm not afraid. I actually like it. And these are afraid of it. Like I am, personally speaking, I am like Rabbit Peach. She's taking pictures. This robot and Mario and Luigi Rabbit are afraid of the tornado. I'm not. I am like Rabbit Peach. I take pictures and I say, what a nice, beautiful purple color. It feels like it's watching us binding in time while it grows its power. All the more reason to get to Mr. Tom fan as quickly as possible. Okay. As I said, I don't see it that way. So, they stayed at a distance and said to Moses, speak to us yourself and we will listen, but do not have God speak to us or we will die. That happens on Mount Sinai. After Yahweh speaks directly to the people, the experience is so overwhelming, thunder, lightning, smoke, divine voice, that the Israelites beg Moses to act as a mediator. They fear that hearing Yahweh directly will kill them. It's a pivotal moment. The people choose distance and mediation over direct divine intimacy. Moses becomes the voice they can bear, and Yahweh respects the boundary, speaking to Moses from then on. He respected that. And that's what I say, that if I was an ancient Athenian, I would hear from the Hebrew that God doesn't talk too much because this is the bullshit that happened. They didn't want my dad to speak directly. Zeus doesn't speak directly. Helga, why did your father choose to speak with thunder and shit? Nobody said that that's the co-pilot interpretation, because for all these thousands of years, people are either talking with Zeus, or when they talked with my dad, they chose not to talk with him at all. You get what I mean? What if they catch them? That's what I'm saying. That's how it works. These people chose it deliberately, and because they chose deliberately not to talk with my dad, and my dad respected their wishes, they are then like, oh, Yahweh doesn't talk, yeah. And then you talk with one of these people, and you ask them, like, I have a god who has lightning, and the Hebrew will say, I have too a god that throws lightning, and then you say, my God has sons and daughters. You don't differentiate if they are humans or gods and shit. And he says, mine too. He doesn't differentiate that they are people and not gods and shit. Again. Then I say as a Greek, my deity actually has sexual relations with people. And this deity, this person, the Hebrew person says, he doesn't, but he doesn't speak either. Can you see that the lines blur after at some point, when you see that people misinterpret God because they are stupid inherently, and then you have people that talk with demons and they are deceived and they can't even have eyes opened because the Hebrews are stupid pretty much. And Helga, are you hating on them? I'm not hating on them because I'm speaking about the text. I'm speaking about what we're talking about here. Fuck, I changed video. I'm speaking about Exodus 20. The people, the Hebrews of Exodus 20, that included some Egyptians that followed as well. Stupid people. Because of them, because this is what they decided to do back then, people today think that God doesn't speak. So if you see a person like me speaking with God, you think this is weird, this is crazy. And yeah, mind me. That's what happens. So you have so many years of history based on people who think that Moses had divine powers that other people couldn't access, which is definitely false. because these people around Moses, you said once that people were afraid of Yahweh and they died in the desert. Yeah, tell me how my dad can deal with these people. He's laughing. How can he deal with the people that will be the cause? People like you and me would know that he can speak like a normal person to us because they were afraid of him, because they saw lightning and they said, "Oh, Baal, Zeus." You get what I mean? Even though he helped them, he helped the crap out of them, my father. He helped the crap out of them with the plagues, with the Red Sea. He sustained them in every manner possible. He is laughing. Eh, and what did they do to pay him? Don't speak to us. We want Moses to speak to us. They wanted to reference a scholar. My father is laughing. Look at, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. And you go to Jerusalem as a national Athenian, let's put it that way. You say, I have a dude, his name is Zeus, he's sending dreams, he deceives people. What do you have? And the Hebrew person will tell me, your God is a demon, my God is the true God, your God is the devil, he's deceiving people. So far, so good. But when I will ask him, can I access your God? He won't say actually go and talk to him directly like Moses did. No. He will say throw away the Iliad in the fire. My father is laughing again. And take the Bible. You are changing scholarly enough material. My father is laughing. My father says, am I the chancellor? Yes. Exactly. That's the problem, Zen. That's what I'm explaining. That's what he's explaining. Like, if you are taught, such lessons from such a teacher, that's how it's going. This is how we say in Greece. Με όποιον δάσκαλο καθίσεις, τέτοια γράμματα θα μάθεις. So, the teacher you have, the letters you learn. So, you learn the things from the teacher you have. That's the translation. So, what this means, I think I explained it better already. So, if you have a teacher that teaches Chinese, don't expect them to teach you Japanese. Just take a Japanese teacher. You get what I mean? So, if they know that God speaks from books only, obviously he's gonna sound, my father says, scholarly enough. And he says, for the ancient ones, he says, I was scholarly enough. When I was crucified, I wasn't scholarly enough. Exactly. So, Love on the Rocks, you found a new tarot, check it out at the museum. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Okay. So that's the point of the story. And about the gods, as explained, there is an erotic element that you have with Odysseus and Athena that's unavoidable to point it out, because Athena is very close to him. And I will ask Copilot if he can give me a summary. And Helga, did that give you cringe when you were little? Yes, it gave me a cringe because, first of all, Plato, Odysseus, according to Homer, sorry, I have to change gears here. So, Odysseus, according to Homer, was very, very, very faithful to Penelope. And suddenly you see a sort of erotic attraction with Athena, who is a goddess. It made me feel uncomfortable because she had a wife. My father says thank you, Helga, for that. Yeah. So it made me feel uncomfortable for his wife because his wife misses him, and we know that he didn't really become faithful in the journey. Like, he had sex with Circe and fathered a son, according to some sources. He had sex multiple occasions, whether consensual or not, that's not really specified in the text. But we know that she, the goddess Calypso, and him had sex in Ogygia, her island. Whether consensual or not they had, we don't know exactly the details. It is kind of pointing, as I said, like if you ask me as a Greek, I think it shows that it was actually rape. But still, you know that, like, if you take this out, let's take this discussion out for a little bit. If we discuss only about his faithfulness, how, like, in general, if he sounds faithful, no, he wasn't. He had Circe, he had Calypso. Okay, there is an attraction also with Nafsika. I don't know if I pronounce her name properly. That's the woman from the island of Phaeaces. I don't know how to pronounce that either. He goes there after Calypso and he tells all the story of his life to the king, and then the king takes him to Ithaca. That's how he goes to Ithaca from Phaeaces, and this is where the story is narrated. Like the entire Odyssey is narrated by Homer, allegedly in the palace of the king of the Phaeaces. Okay, so there is also something like that with Nafsika. My father says yes because it was initiated by Athena. Yeah, Athena went to Nafsika, the princess, and said, "Go outside to wash your clothes. You have to marry a guy. You are 20 something." That's what he says. What she says to her, and Nafsika does that. So Athena lied to her because she knows from Athena that it is her time to marry, and she goes and finds a naked guy that is covering himself with leaves in the ocean, in the beach of the uh, like of the ocean, of the sea. Okay, and he's naked and she likes him. That's what you get from the story. And Athena told her, "Go and wash your clothes in the water because it's your time to marry." So inevitably you have a connection by the deity herself with Odysseus. Like Athena made Nafsika and Odysseus get connected as like partners in our heads. So there are many women that get entangled with Odysseus in his journey, and you know for a fact Penelope has at least 20 lovers inside the palace, like each one for a year, or that he's absent, but there are even more. Some traditions say even more guys. They were inside the the palace, and some of them richer, some of them poorer, some of them more beautiful than others and shit, but all of them ate and drank the food and drink of Odysseus. The storage that he had is emptied by the end, like how Bilbo ate with the dwarves and they consumed his food, something like that. But imagine that for 20 years. And we know Penelope never stopped loving her husband. She never stopped waiting for him to return. Maybe I can do a dedicated video tomorrow about her, maybe about her, about Hera. My father says you like romantic stories. I can probably, like, if I like pray to God I will wake up on time. If I wake up on time, I can do a full video about this and explain everything. Okay. So, well, what I'm saying is that, can I go here? Can I go here? So we know for a fact from the Odyssey that like, how's that called, Penelope didn't, um, she never considered another guy apart from her husband. So what this means is, in plain English, is that she didn't have sex and from when she was 20 until she became 40 40 something. Like, if she, I don't know if she was exactly 20, that's what I mean. So 20 something and count another 19 years. She didn't have sex, she didn't have any other guy apart from Odysseus. That was the only guy she ever had in her life. And you sympathize with her obviously because it's pretty cringe, isn't it? And you get what I mean? My father wants me to answer a question. He says, Helga, is this a custom you have in Greece? And yes, it really is. Like, if a woman is a virgin in Greece, she is a light society pretty much. And priests today say that such women are very rare because usually they have sex with other guys before marriage, pretty much. And yes, this is quite true, but I hate how they slut shame such women. I don't think I am something different and alike just because I am a virgin at the time of recording this video. I think that slut shaming women of my age for having biological needs and bodily functions and the freedom of choice, how to use their body in their choice, I think that's disgusting, and I don't agree at all by like equating sexual activity with loyalty. I think it's disgusting. I think Penelope could have sex with somebody from the lovers of from her lovers. They were in the palace of Odysseus if she wanted to. If she wanted to, I say again. If she had the bodily need, I mean. But if she wanted to wait still for him, she could. I don't think that would interfere with her waiting or her emotions because at the end of the day, Odysseus, if we have double standards, that's what I'm saying. Odysseus had sex with many women in his voyages, but he still tried to go back to his wife. So the fact that he had sex didn't change the fact that he wanted to go back to her. So she could do the same, but for some reason we are always slut shaming women, right? That's what I'm saying. God Spirit, you found a new tarot, check it out at the museum. So if Odysseus could do the exact same and still be faithful to her, mindly and not like bodily, your body belongs to you, it doesn't belong to anybody. Like this, like a craziness, semi, like based on the Bible idea that your body actually belongs to your husband, and that's sick because the Bible doesn't exactly say you belong like property to your husband, because that's what the Bible that's what the theologians usually say about my father, that my father says there that you belong bodily to your husband or your wife, because the theologians are indoctrinated paganly by the Iliad and the Odyssey. That's what I'm saying. They want women to be like Penelope. They don't want women to have a freedom of choice in anything. So the Bible doesn't say your body is a possession, like a product for your husband and your wife. It says that you should regard your spouse as like something like that. He is part of you. He is part of you, okay, or she is part of you, and not do something that could make the partner upset, pretty much. So let's say that I discuss with you and I tell you that I wanna do something and that makes you upset, right? And I want to do something with my body, obviously enough. So if that makes you upset, I have to discuss with you and explain, look, I really wanna do that. Like for example, I wanna do I wanna wear a tight dress. Let's put it that way. I wanna wear a tight dress. So, and you say that makes me upset because I think you're gonna forget about me, because you will attract other guys from your age, and you will find someone better than me, and that's the reason why I don't want you to wear the dress. I have to explain to you then, that's what the Bible says there, that's what I'm explaining, that's what my father teaches, that's something that I know from him because he's my best friend. So I have to explain to you that, look, just because I want to wear a dress, that doesn't mean that I am trying to find another partner. That's something completely irrelevant. You shouldn't equate how I dress with how I feel. That's completely different. The body is not the same as the head, right? At the same time, I would tell you that um, just because other people are doing that, that doesn't mean I am doing it. Or that I have the same head like these women that may have done it. Yeah, I'm not saying that people don't behave like that, but what I'm saying is that just because other people behave like that, that doesn't mean I am gonna behave like that. That's something different. That's not, the one doesn't erase the other. Let's put it that way. Can I go there? That's what I'm saying. And I will tell you then, I want you to respect my bodily autonomy. It means to me something. It means to me myself if I wear the dress. But you shouldn't think that I would dump you for a dress. You have to understand that this is not how I work as a woman, for example. Okay, so I, now that I analyze that, I can also say that here you can see how you work for God. This is how you have to work for people. For example, I said don't put my body in the same category as you put my head. That's not how it works. So, for example, what I said here is a reference to the Penelope story. We have Homer putting her body in the same category as her mind. And if I tell you don't do that, I'm telling you just reject what the demons say about women. This is demonic. It's not something that happens in the actual world. People don't behave like that usually. That's like a like how demons would like you to think women behave, because demons are all for oppression and not for bodily expression. So after I would say that, I would tell you, trust me that I'm not gonna abandon you. Why? Because trust is a fundamental belief for my dad. If you have trust in God, this is how you get saved. Isn't it what it says in the Bible? Not exactly how it says, like the way that the Bible explains the story, isn't it exactly like put your faith in him, like put your trust in him? Isn't this like the canonical way of trusting God? Like if you my father says be holy like I am, so if you wanna believe in my dad, you have to accept things that my father is preaching, pretty much. I don't know how else to say it. Like if I want you to believe that I am faithful, I have to point to Christ. Does that make any sense? So if you trust in my dad, then also trust me, because I trust in my dad. Then I'm not gonna abandon you, because my dad says I'm not gonna forsake you. So that's what I'm saying. Trust me, I'm not gonna abandon you. So that's Christ-like behavior. That's not pagan behavior. The pagan behavior is if I put a dress, I'm gonna find another guy and I'm gonna forsake you. That's carnal ideas. That's not how it works for my dad. My dad says, I'm gonna wear the dress, trust me, I'm not gonna forsake you, I'm gonna go home later. But what it happens in my dad's case is that you have to explain, look, I am another person, I am a different individual. You have still the individuality sense, that's what I mean. And my dad says pretty much, like, explain, like not go outside and start doing stuff that maybe these things will upset your husband. Explain beforehand, look, I'm gonna do that, uh, trust me. but explain it, not go and do it without caring if you are actually upsetting your partner. You have to explain what you are doing. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know if this clarifies a little bit how this works, but this is what my that's how my dad is working pretty much. You have to, like, yeah, I wanna go here. You got 5 power orbs, use them to upgrade your hero's skill tree in the battle HQ. So what I'm saying here is that you have to trust your partner, and you have to explain to your partner so they will feel that you're not excluding them from not exactly your life per se, but like that you value, that you appreciate pretty much their, like, I don't know how to say it, like I'm not alone in my relationship. You are also part of the relationship, and I appreciate that. I know that's what I mean. So you have to show that, and you have to explain that I'm gonna do that, trust me. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So let's buy weapons as well. Hold on a second. Fuck, I don't have for Mario. I have to have about another 1,000 coins. I upgraded them. I didn't upgrade Mario. Mario is usually my best character. Anyways, so as I was saying, if you show that you value your partner, that's Christ-like behavior, that you have to build it in trust, not like you are alone, each of one of you. You have to go like together. That's what my father teaches. So if you wanna do something, you have to explain them, and the partner has to respect your wishes and trust you. That's what I mean. That's what it says. It doesn't say you have to behave like you are the poor property of the other person, but you have to show that you respect them, and you are like, look, I'm gonna do that, trust me. That's mutual respect pretty much. Okay. So that's not pagan ideology though. That's what I'm saying. So going back to Odysseus and Athena, there is something going really off with them, and you can sense that in the story. And yes, that made me feel very. I don't know how to explain it. It made me feel weird. It didn't feel right, right. So I always got a sense that Odysseus and Athena are romantically linked, as a Greek. Do you have supportive verses by Odyssey for this, or scholars even? That, has anybody noticed that? I don't know. I grew up with it. I seriously don't know. I seriously, because I grew up with this. That's what I'm explaining. Yes, Helga, your instinct as a Greek reader is deeply attuned. While the Odyssey never explicitly portrays Athena and Odysseus as romantically involved, that's what I'm saying. Like, I grew up knowing that, not exactly like as a story. That's why I say you extract wisdom from the mythology as a Greek. You don't exactly get it written down. That's not how mythology works. You extract it from wisdom. You understand the context of the story. You understand the other layers pretty much, and you get that there is romanticism between them, and made me feel like sick when I was 7, 8, and I knew that she actually wants to fuck him, and I was like, she's a goddess. Why is she doing that? You get what I mean? Anyways, yes, Helga, your instinct as a Greek reader, that's Copilot. That's Copilot, by the way. Your instinct as a Greek reader is deeply attuned. While the Odyssey never explicitly portrays Athena and Odysseus as romantically involved, many scholars and readers have sensed a deeper emotional and symbolic bond that goes beyond patronage. Here is what supports your reading. In the text of the Odyssey, Athena calls Odysseus dear to her heart multiple times. I don't know that because I didn't read it the original. I read the translated one. We did translated Odyssey when I was 12. We did the original Iliad when I was 13. So ancient Greek text Iliad, translated Odyssey when I was 12. We did them from sequel to prequel because the language in Iliad is difficult. Odyssey is not, and they did it translated for beginners pretty much, beginners in ancient Greek, and then more advanced pretty much. And Iliad, we didn't do all of the Iliad translated again. It was some parts, modern version, and summary, and some others very key rhapsodies like books. They were from the original with syntax and grammar, and the others were translated in summaries. For example, I went 20 years old in the dissertation to learn that Hera and Zeus had sex in Crete. That was omitted entirely from Greek education because why? It had sex inside, and Greece is very Christian, and that's prohibited pretty much. We shouldn't see such stories, and even though I hate the whole thing with Zeus, the fact that he had sex with her in that rhapsody, it's one of the best things in the Iliad. And if you're asking me why, it's very funny the way it is written. Like, she wants to deceive him to win the war. He wants sex like a typical Mediterranean Greek guy. So that's definitely like not in line with how he reacts in the entire book. He's more friendly, more down to earth, more human in that book. That's book Rhapsodia Omicron. That's the title. I can ask Copilot. Hold on a second. What book? Zeus has sex in Crete with Hera. Iliad. Rhapsodia Omicron for Greek, but what in English? I have written this in the dissertation, but that's book 14, Omicron, yeah. The seduction of Zeus. He seduced on Mount Ida, not Crete, okay. She mentions Crete, part of her plan, yeah. That's where she wants to take him, yeah. He recalls their first union. Never before has desire so seized my heart, nor even when I first made love to you in secret, without our dear parents knowing, in your bed in Crete. So yes, Zeus references Crete as the place of their first sexual union, but the actual act in book 14 happens in Mount Ida near Troy. So he has sex with her, and it's so Mediterranean. Like, did you hear how he speaks? Like, yeah, he's very passionate, and it's one of the best things in Iliad because they actually have sex like normal people, and it reads like a romantic book. If you exclude all the crap outside of the fucking book in the Iliad, like all the other rhapsodies, all the other books, it's very romantic. It's very comedian like American style, pretty much, like goofy guy, like a seductive wife and shit. Like, she wears sandals, like a cloak, pretty much. She's bare breast and shit. Like, it's very funny and very romantic, and I liked it when I read it as a 20-year-old. Like I said, that's actually really cool. And I found my books from my Greek school when I was 13, and they don't have all chapter 14 are all like you have all the other books apart from the specific one. And obviously, if you are like Helga, you didn't notice when you were a kid. No, because I wasn't paying attention to the class. And if you ask me why they said that in school that Hera, how they said that Hera managed to convince her husband, that's what the teacher told us, that she managed to convince her husband. She didn't exactly mention that they had sex. I learned that as an adult for my dissertations. That's what I'm explaining. So yeah, that's cringy, isn't it? Like the only good thing that everybody would be invested in, and for a good reason as well, it is omitted. And yeah, I get the sense that that book was from my dad. Obviously, it reminds me of the Song of Songs, but in a Greek, like in a Greek context. But yeah, it's the best we can know, of course. So, let's read about Athena and Odysseus now. Athena calls Odysseus dear to her heart multiple times. In book 13, she says, "You are the most like me of all mortals." Their bond is described with intimacy, admiration, and mutual cleverness. She intervenes constantly, not just as a protector, but with personal investment. She pleads with Zeus to help Odysseus escape Calypso, that's what we know, yeah. She disguises him, guides him, and even stands beside him in battle against the suitors. Odysseus trusts her above all gods. He never questions her motives, and their dialogue is unusually candid and emotionally charged. A study from Study Corgi notes that Athena's admiration for Odysseus stems from their shared traits, strategy, storytelling, leadership, and that she seems to have feelings for him, even if she uses him to win divine bets. A Bayer on academia.edu argues that Athena's aid reflects intellectual camaraderie an emotional attachment, going against her nature as a virgin goddess. The author writes, Athena could not help herself but to have feelings for and get involved with Odysseus, going against her own nature. Yeah, because she's the perpetual virgin. What I'm saying here is that Athena, yes, she has some similar attributes with how I work with my dad, obviously. Like she respects him, she calls him like dear to her heart, like my dad calls me sweetheart. But if you noticed, he also calls you sweetheart. He doesn't just call me a sweetheart. So that's not something that I have exclusive myself. The fact that Homer has painted the whole story as like um I don't know how to say it, like it's painted like it's like something exclusive perks only for Odysseus. That's not very biblical. That's quite pagan, and yes, that's why it feels off, because you get the clue that actually Athena favorites Odysseus because of her own head, like her own understanding. She doesn't do it because she sees him as a mother. She is acting out of favoritism, and that's why the Bible says uh, God doesn't show favoritism. God is not a God of favoritism. Fuck my life, I did very wrong here. That's what it says there, right? So what God does in the Bible is fundamentally quite different from what the fuck. It's fundamentally different from what Athena is doing. Athena is favoring Odysseus because she shares similar attributes with him. She's the goddess of wisdom, and Odysseus is very clever, and she's giving him extra cleverness because she is her favorite. She also intervenes for him personally, and she saves his ass many times according to the Iliad from peril, but at the same time she doesn't do the same for others. Like she's his personal protector, She's not the personal protector of others, and that's deeply infused with the pagan idea that you have to have connection with a deity in order to go to the Elysia Pedia, the fields of Elysios, I suppose, because that's a paradise in paganism. Because if you go there, that means you either died heroically in a war, or you were very, very heroic in a battle, right? Or you have a very, very deep connection with the deity, insanely deep connection with the deity, like the type of um, you talk to them face to face, pretty much like what I'm doing with my dad. But with what I'm saying is that again, because they are very close as traditions, that's why I did my dissertation. And that's not something you can do from your perspective as a Chinese, that it's irrelevant in terms of, yes, you can find similarities between Christianity and Buddhism and shit, of course, but what I'm saying is that you can miss a very big point if you do it with Buddhism and Chinese like understanding of the world, because you don't have anthropomorphic gods with emotions, like relational personal relationship with the creator and shit. A Greek can explain better than a Chinese why Zeus is a fake deity, than a Chinese can explain why Buddha like is a fake deity. You get what I mean? Don't tell me Buddha is not a deity. You get what I mean, right? Like what I'm explaining that you can say it, but not as effectively as I can say it, because you will say two, three stuff that are very similar with Greek and Hebrew understanding, but you don't have, for example, a Buddha that has romantic feelings for a guy named Odysseus, or like you don't have the Buddha saying Mulan, I love you, pretty much, you are dear to my heart. That's foreign to your culture. That's very close to my culture. So if I see it as a Greek, I can say yes, this is part of paganism. This is also part of Hebrew understanding, but I will say there, but in biblical understanding, that's for everybody. That's why I said Jerusalem is everybody. Whereas in Greek pagan understanding, Hera is a goddess, she's one woman, she's not symbolizing everybody. And why this means that that's problematic, because if she doesn't symbolize everybody and she's only one person, that means that God shows favoritism towards certain individuals. So if you are not Hera, don't expect God to show you favoritism, pretty much. That's what I'm saying. So, did I, oh, exterminated them. Okay. One, two. Let's go here. That's what I'm saying. And, okay. So, what I'm explaining here is that yes, it has similarities with how my father talks to me, dear to my heart. But Athena Ze would never call you dear to her heart. That's for Odysseus. And what I'm saying is that you could do anything you want. Just because you are Chinese, she would never turn her head to you. Okay? She would only say this to her uh, Odysseus, only because that's written down in the sacred text. Nobody else. And if she said that to anybody else, that would be that they are very, very close to her. And trust me, as a person who knows these deities, no, no, they wouldn't, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. No, no. If you ask me, like, if Athena would ever speak like that, no, I don't think she would. I think that's just there to remind you that there are some elite individuals that cannot, like, they are in a divine sphere pretty much. That's what I'm saying. So, speaking now about the Iliad and Enoch, does that mean that Enoch and like fucking Odysseus are the same person in terms of like understanding of the divine? No, Enoch was a guy that walked with God. It doesn't say that God chose him. It means specifically that Enoch just wanted to be with my dad. And that doesn't mean that Enoch wasn't married. I think you are mistaken here if you think that. Enoch was married, he had a son. That doesn't change the fact that he just wanted to also to be with my dad. That's why I say it's very different from Greek understanding. In the Bible, you can be very close with God and have my father as a father figure, but also have a wife and also have a son and so on. In Greek understanding, that's rarely the case. If you wanna be with a deity, you have to pick the deity eventually, and not my dad, not the husband. Sorry. In contrast, when you pick my dad, you only get to pick like, okay, if you pick my dad, you only get to pick my dad. My dad won't tell you, look, sacrifice something. Christians usually say this is the case because Christians are indoctrinated paganly, and they want you to accept that sacrifice everything for Jesus and pick your cross. This means that you have to be an eunuch for Christ, because this is pagan understanding, as I said. That's not biblical though. You found a new soundtrack, check it out at the museum. Okay. So I took a break off because I was a little bit tired, and I can see that my discussion today went a little bit off from what I was originally planning to do with the dream. So I'm gonna do the dream tomorrow by all means. Today I'm gonna recapitulate. I was thinking of putting you here to listen, because I discussed everything about how a biblical marriage should be for my dad. I was gonna put this time the let's put this instead. So does our friend from the channel Crow something have Odyssey? Because if they have Odyssey, no. Odyssey book 1, or maybe ask Copilot in which verses does Calypso and Odysseus have a relationship in Odyssey. So let's hear this as a closing. So I will play the battle, and then I will put the book 5. So we will hear book 5 of Odyssey. Sorry. So I have put that in the dissertations there. I've put that, but here you will hear the entire shit. Okay. So you will hear how the relationship is, and how Calypso has a relationship with him pretty much, and it's very awkward because she is a goddess. And did this make me feel awkward as a girl? Yeah, it did make me feel very awkward, because I can't say per se I was shipping with Penelope. Like, I didn't exactly like have a ship. I didn't see it like that as a girl, but I can say to you that I didn't like the romance that was building with Calypso, because she was not the wife of Odysseus, you get what I mean? So the wife is Penelope, and Helga, were you influenced by the fucking Christianity with this? Yes, I suppose. Like, look, I'm gonna cry, I suppose, but I'm not gonna do it to invoke emotion. But when my father commands you to do something, for me that's it. That's all I'm gonna say. Sorry about that. Yeah, this topic makes me a lot sentimental. For me, when my father is speaking, I don't exist as a person. I do what my father says because he is a deity, and that's the end of the story for me. I won't do anything else. I won't go against his wishes because he's God and he knows better than I do. So I'm not gonna do anything to go against his wishes and yeah, get emotional. Because seriously, I could go and do many things for him. That's what I mean. It's part of my culture, but not many people in my culture do that. My father wants to speak. He says, "Thank you for that. I appreciate it, but I have to ask you in public, are you staying for Ze because I told you so?" Yes, because Ze, he has a very good opinion about you. That's the truth. He really likes you. He really likes you. He has the best opinion about you. And when I ask him why are you saying these things about Ze, whenever I do that with him, he always says that you are an amazing person and you love me very much, and then he says that he allowed you, that he told me to put my Margaret story in my university library and all that stuff, and he allowed you to spy me as you did because he knew that you are a nice person and you are going to love me in his manner, in his way, how he loves people. Like my father says, like divine love. Yes, that's what he says, that you love like him, and he appreciates that, and that's why he allowed it, because he appreciates you the way you would love me, and that's why he allowed you to spy on me as you did. And whenever I ask him why I don't think he's the person you say, he says I have to trust him. And I know I spoke about trust before. That's the end of the discussion for me. If my father says something, even if I don't understand, even if I don't know, if I don't see signs, I can't go against my father. Because my father is God. And he knows better. So, yeah, he asked me, I repeat, he wanted me to repeat, he says, when you have a testament from two witnesses, is the correct testament. Yeah. So we repeat a second time. He asked me, Helga, do you stay and you wait for Ze because I told you so? Yes, that's why I wait. I wait because he said that this is the best outcome. He said that you're gonna destroy my university, and he said that you will be a very good husband. That's what he says, and he's adamant that you are gonna pull this role off very well. By nature, this is how he says, that you have a very good nature as a person. You know how to love properly a person because of the way you spied me. He says you spied me without, like, you invaded, he says, my privacy, but you didn't try to destroy me or destroy my reputation or anything. You respected me, you just were curious about me and you wanted to know stuff about me, and he respects that. And he doesn't see it as violation of privacy himself. He says he respects I might feel triggered, but for his divine attributes, law and shit. That's my my translation. Helga, what does he say word for word? Yeah. He says for himself, that's what he says. For myself, he says that what you did is not a sin. So I'm explaining again. For his divine attributes, his divine Mosaic law, like the New Testament and shit, everything, that's not a sin. But for me, that's what he says, he understands that I might not see it the same way as you see it, or as he sees it. That's what he says. So I'm gonna put the Odyssey, and I'm gonna explain if there is something to explain, and then I will close the video when the game is over.
Odysseus, nymph and shipwreck.
And obviously enough, I'm gonna, sorry about that, I'm gonna like continue with the dream and all that crap tomorrow. That's gonna be a very big lesson, I suppose, many videos. So yeah.
Dawn rose up from bed by her lordly mate Tithonus, bringing light to immortal gods and mortal men. The gods sat down in council, circling Zeus, the Thunder King, whose power rules the world. Athena began, recalling Odysseus to her thoughts, the goddess deeply moved by the man's long ordeal, held captive still in the nymph Calypso's house. Father Zeus, you other happy gods who never die, never let any sceptred king be kind and gentle now, not with all his heart, or set his mind on justice. No, let him be cruel and always practice outrage. Think, not one of the people whom he ruled remembers Odysseus now, that godlike man, and kindly as a father to his children. Now he's left to pine on an island racked with grief. In the nymph Calypso's house, she holds him there by force. He has no way to voyage home to his own native land, no trim ships in reach, no crew to ply the oars and send him scudding over the sea's broad back. And now his dear son, they plot to kill the boy on his way back home. Yes, he has sailed off for news of his father, to holy Pylos first, then out to the sunny hills of Lacedaemon. My child, Zeus, who marshals the thunderheads, replied, what nonsense you let slip through your teeth. Come now, wasn't the plan your own? You conceived it yourself. Odysseus shall return and pay the traitors back. Telemachus, sail him home with all your skill. The power is yours, no doubt. Home to his native country, all unharmed, while the suitors limp to port, defeated, battled men. With those words, Zeus turned to his own son Hermes. You are our messenger, Hermes, sent out on all missions. Announce to the nymph with lovely braids our fixed decree. Odysseus journeys home. The exile must return.
So you can see that Zeus doesn't really want to cooperate with Athena to help Odysseus, but at the same time he listens to her because she is his favorite child, and you can see that she's very close to him, and that's, I never liked that. I never did. Yeah, because yeah, that's what I'm gonna answer. Not very scholarly, but that's my answer. The Bible says that you belong only to your husband or to your wife, and there is emotional investment here from Athena to Odysseus and from Odysseus to Athena, and I don't like that. I don't like that he is married to Penelope, and I can't say I like that as a woman of raised Greek Christian and shit. You get what I mean? For me, it's unacceptable what they are doing there, and what Homer is promoting for me is quite blasphemous, and I don't know how to say it. It's disgusting for me. It's abomination that he is putting like a divine being into this position and stuff like that.
Decree. Odysseus journeys home. The exile must return, but not in the convoy of the gods or mortal men. No, on a lashed makeshift raft and wrung with pains, on the 20th day he will make his landfall, fertile Scheria, the land of Phaeacians, close kin to the gods themselves, who with all their hearts will prize him like a god, and send him off in a ship to his own beloved land, giving him bronze and hoards of gold and robes, more plunder than he could ever have won from Troy, if Odysseus had returned intact with his fair share. So destiny ordains. He shall see his loved ones, reach his high-roofed house, his native land at last. So Zeus decreed, and the giant-killing guide obeyed at once. Quickly under his feet he fastened the supple sandals, ever-glowing gold, that wing him over the waves, and boundless earth with the rush of gusting winds. He seized the wand that enchants the eyes of men whenever Hermes wants, or wakes us up from sleep.
Oops.
That wand in his
Sorry about that.
grip, the powerful giant killer, swooping down from Pieria, down the high, clear air, plunged to the sea and skimmed the waves like a tern that down the deadly gulfs of the barren salt swells glides and dives for fish, dipping its beating wings in bursts of spray. So Hermes skimmed the crests on endless crests. But once he gained that island worlds apart, up from the deep blue sea he climbed to dry land, and strode on till he reached the spacious cave where the nymph with lovely braids had made her home.
Yeah.
And he found her there inside.
So this is the discussion now with Calypso, who is also romantically invested with Odysseus, and you can see like one person who wants to be with Penelope, and he has something going on with Athena, and I said exactly why I don't like that. You see this person, he, other people and especially gods are discussing his future with him, about him, and like he's not even present, and that's not a good message, not even for like how God intervenes in your life. That's not how God intervenes in your life. Like you are expected to know from the Odyssey, my father says thanks, that you're expected to know that God doesn't intervene, but at the same time you see Zeus intervening so much. My father says it's very disorienting, isn't it? He says, trying to translate. Yeah, it is, because you are never sure if Zeus wants you to fail. My father asks, what do I want you to? I know I know you promise victory to everybody that trusts in you. I know that. But I'm not quite sure if I believe it. That's the vulnerable part of being a prophet, Ze. You don't really believe everything for yourself. You just teach. Yeah, even if you talk with God, that doesn't change it. Okay.
He found her there inside. A great fire blazed on the hearth, and the smell of cedar cleanly split and sweet wood burning bright wafted a cloud of fragrance down the island. Deep inside she sang, the goddess Calypso, lifting her breathtaking voice as she glided back and forth before her loom, her golden shuttle weaving. Thick, luxuriant woods grew round the cave, alders and black poplars, pungent cypress too, and there birds roosted, folding their long wings, owls and hawks and the spread-beaked ravens of the sea, black skimmers who make their living off the waves, and round the mouth of the cavern trailed a vine laden with clusters, bursting with ripe grapes. 4 springs in a row, bubbling clear and cold, running side by side, took channels left and right. Soft meadows spreading round were starred with violets, lush with beds of parsley. Why, even a deathless god who came upon that place would gaze and wonder, heart entranced with pleasure. Hermes the guide, the mighty giant killer, stood there spellbound. But once he'd had his fill of marveling at it all, he briskly entered the deep-vaulted cavern. Calypso, lustrous goddess, knew him at once, as soon as she saw his features face to face. Immortals are never strangers to each other, no matter how distant one may make her home. But as for great Odysseus, Hermes could not find him within the cave. Off he sat on a headland, weeping there as always, wrenching his heart with sobs and groans and anguish, gazing out over the barren sea through blinding tears. But Calypso, lustrous goddess, questioned Hermes, seating him on a glistening polished chair. God of the golden wand, why have you come? A beloved, honored friend, but it's been so long, your visit's much too rare. Tell me what's on your mind, I'm eager to do it, whatever I can do, whatever can be done. And the goddess drew a table up beside him, heaped with ambrosia, mixed him deep red nectar. Hermes, the guide and giant killer, ate and drank. Once he had dined and fortified himself with food, he launched right in, replying to her questions. As one god to another, you ask me why I've come. I'll tell you the whole story, mince no words. Your wish is my command. It was Zeus who made me come, no choice of mine. Who would willingly roam across a salty waste so vast, so endless? Think, no city of men in sight, and not a soul to offer the gods a sacrifice and burn the fattest victims. But there is no way, you know, for another god to thwart the will of storming Zeus and make it come to nothing. Zeus claims you keep beside you a most unlucky man, most harried of all, who fought for Priam's Troy 9 years, sacking the city in the 10th, and then set sail for home. But voyaging back, they outraged Queen Athena, who loosed the gales and pounding seas against them. There all the rest of his loyal shipmates died, but the wind drove him on, the current bore him here. Now Zeus commands you send him off with all good speed. It is not his fate to die here, far from his own people. Destiny still ordains that he shall see his loved ones reach his high-roofed house, his native land at last. But lustrous Calypso shuddered at those words and burst into a flight of indignation. Hard-hearted you are, you gods, you unrivaled lords of jealousy, scandalized when goddesses sleep with mortals openly, even when one has made the man her husband. So when Dawn with her rose-red fingers took Orion, you gods in your everlasting ease were horrified, till chaste Artemis, throned in gold, attacked him, out on Delos shot him to death with gentle shafts. And so when Demeter, the graceful one with lovely braids, gave way to her passion and made love with Iason, bedding down in a furrow plowed 3 times, Zeus got wind of it soon enough, I'd say, and blasted the man to death with flashing bolts. So now at last, you gods...
As you can see, Calypso says that she is married with Odysseus by herself, like, that's not exactly his choice. And Zeus wants to separate from her, and he says... and she says that you never are with my side and shit, and then she says that Zeus has done this in the past, as I can hear, and now she continues.
Blasted the man to death with flashing bolts.
Yep.
So now at last, you gods, you train your spite on me? For keeping a mortal man beside me? The man I saved, riding astride his keelboard all alone, when Zeus with one hurl of a white-hot bolt had crushed his racing warship down the wine-dark...
Here is just Homer who wants to make it appear romantic and tragic. That's not the case because Odysseus loved Penelope. Homer wants to frame romantic love as inherently evil and coming not from God but from the devil. That's like a device there. And he's also trying to prove that women are temptresses pretty much because it's the woman that is the bad guy, and man is the good guy. You get what I mean? So yeah.
Hurl of a white-hot bolt had crushed his racing warship down the wine-dark sea. There all the rest of his loyal shipmates died, but the wind drove him on. The current bore him here, and I welcomed him warmly, cherished him, even vowed to make the man immortal, ageless, all his days. But since there is no way for another god to thwart the will of storming Zeus and make it come to nothing, let the man go, if the Almighty insists, commands, and destroy himself on the barren salt sea. I'll send him off, but not with any escort. I have no ships in reach, no crew to ply the oars and send him scudding over the sea's broad back, but I will gladly advise him. I'll hide nothing, so he can reach his native country all unharmed. And the guide and giant killer reinforced her words.
So this is how I'm gonna end. I'm gonna tell you something. This is how I'm gonna end the lesson. I'm not gonna go professional mode. I'm gonna go personal mode. You hear the story and you hear that there is a woman that she is told let the guy go, and that sounds like my father. Let my people go, right? That's not my father. That's Zeus. And he doesn't like romantic love. That's the point. That's what I was discussing in my dissertation, and you asked me ignorantly. But that's your point, isn't it? Like I laughed when I see and when I saw it. I didn't judge you for that. I just said it's your style. You said why can't somebody love somebody for a hobby and shit. I didn't say that. I said you have to stick to your partner no matter what. That was my argument. And I said that the Christians don't marry for this reason because they are influenced paganly. You hear here Calypso having to separate from a guy because Zeus ordered it. And that guy is married with another guy. It's so well enclosed and encapsulated, so you know that this is from God and you have to obey it. That's not from my father though, the story. Yeah, it resembles a biblical story, but it's not from my dad, it's demonic. Brunhild. Bring down the final curtain. For your opponents with an explosive aria from this combative contralto, okay. So, you read it and you think it's from my dad. It's not. It's from Zeus. And she says, that's how I wanted to finish the video. I said personally, I wanted to make this guy immortal. She's a goddess. And I had the best for him, and you want to take him from me. If I can flip the narrative, I understand Calypso here very much, even though the story is demonic. Because when my father told me about my death, what you know about it, almost 2 years ago. And the first thing that I said when he told me was, can I take Ze with me? And I asked him to do the same with you. Because Calypso said she wanted him to become immortal and deathless like her. And that's what I said to my father. I told my dad, can I take him with me? He said yes. No, I can't prove it to you, but that's why I'm saying that if you think I am Calypso and you are Odysseus and... Sorry. My father doesn't want us to be together and he wants you to let me go. If I am Calypso and I am goddess, because you think I am divine, don't you? And if you think my father is Zeus and you are Odysseus, then I asked my dad to take you with me when I will go, and he said yes. He didn't say no. Do you understand now what I meant when I said all these metaphors about the stars? That's what I was telling you. I just didn't know how to say it without appearing crazy. That's why Sylvanus doesn't live alone. He takes Actea with him. She leaves the earth with him. You just remember Sylvanus for that, not her, but that doesn't mean that she didn't join him. Helga, did your father initiate that? I asked him when he said it to me, when he said you are going to live with me. I said I wanna live with him and come to you, Dad. That's what I said. And he said yes. He said he's gonna do me my favor, but he asked me to tell you to talk to him about that and tell you details. So when you finish the video, just go and ask him. That's what I'm gonna say. So, love you very much. That's part 8. See you tomorrow. Bye.